Welcome to Lawyer Business Advantage. This podcast is dedicated to helping attorneys earn more money, get better clients, and spend more time with family. I'm your host, Alay Yajnik, founder of Law Firm Success Group. Smart business guidance for small law firms begins in 3, 2, 1. And it's my pleasure to welcome back to Lawyer Business Advantage, Saja Raoof, owner of Raoof Law. Saja, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, Alay?
I'm doing fine. We're holding up remarkably well, considering this is our third podcast in a row that we're recording. But it's so great to have you back, and looking forward to talking about that third leg of the stool for business development for introverts, which is public speaking. Before we jump into public speaking and all of that, tell us a little bit about your law firm.
I've been practicing immigration as a solo practitioner since 2012, and I've found it very rewarding and meaningful. And I focus particularly on business immigration. Part of the reason why I chose that is because I helped my dad with our green card application when I was a teenager, and going through that process shaped my career.
Absolutely. And tell us about the kinds of clients that you work with now.
I work with extraordinary foreign nationals who'd like to make the US their home. That's what my dad qualified for, so that's always been a category that's near and dear to my heart. I also work with companies in the US that would like to hire foreign nationals on either non-immigrant or immigrant work visas.
Awesome. And that might make for, I don't know, maybe not the most interesting speaking stuff. I don't know, but I'd love to hear from you about how you have utilized public speaking over the years, and from first getting involved with it through to now, and how that's helped you build your book of business.
I didn't really get into public speaking as far as my field of practice is concerned until fairly recently. And the way it started was an opportunity to speak on immigration law came up, and I decided to go for it and was surprised at the results, and kept doing it, kept tweaking it, I've worked with more than one public speaking coach, and I've fine-tuned my my skills, and I've practiced a lot, and I've attended workshops, I've done one-on-one training for public speaking, and I've been blown away by the results. I never thought of myself as a gifted public speaker, but the reactions I get are very encouraging.
Well, share with us the kinds of results you've been getting through your speaking.
I gave a talk at my first group leader summit for Provisors, the networking organization. Excuse me, and there were probably, I don't know, 300, 400 people in the room, and I spoke about how timid I was when I first joined Provisors and how my journey evolved until I became a group leader. And I got such uplifting feedback as soon as I stepped off the stage for the rest of the evening that I sent a message to the CEO of Provisors and told him, if I never receive another compliment for the rest of my life, I'm good to go.
Well, he should have been thanking you, and I know he did, because that talk blew everyone in the room away, myself included. So it was really, really good. And you said that was like that was an example of one reaction, but you've been working hard at public speaking for some time. How did it feel to get that level of engagement and and appreciation?
There's no way to describe it. It's very rewarding. It's very it's public speaking is a wonderful channel for giving, and this theme keeps coming up when we talk about networking, when we talk about writing on social media. When I think of the value that I'm delivering, that is my mission. That is what I'm focused on. One example of how delivering value and giving is helped with my public speaking is that sometimes I tend to talk fast. And I have spoken to my public speaking coaches, and I've tried to really work on how do I slow down? How do I give myself permission to take up space and take all the time I need to articulate my thought until its end and not rush until the end, and not, it comes from a place of feeling that you are imposing on the listener and you want to take as little of their time as possible. Of course, it's a subconscious thought. So I finally decided, well, I want the listener to comprehend as well as they possibly can. So I'm doing them a service if I slow down. So when I frame it to myself that way, that makes me more deliberate in my the speed of my speech.
Got it. And so when you were, you went back to that first talk that you did for immigration law, when you were approached to do that, in that moment, if you can go back to that moment in time, how did you feel when you were approached and asked, and why did you decide to do it?
I was attending a small networking meeting for attorneys that my friend, an employment attorney, Rose Ellen Fairgrieve, had invited me to. And they met monthly. They had an attendee give a talk every month. And they said, if anyone's interested in speaking on immigration, raise your hand. So I thought, okay, I'll do it. And
Can I stop you right there, Saja?
yeah.
Why did you raise your hand?
Because I viewed it as an opportunity to be thought of for immigration matters. And I viewed it as an opportunity to connect with people and get to know them. I'd moved to the Bay Area only a few months earlier, and I didn't know anyone. So I was showing up to these meetings, but I wasn't engaging much. I wasn't really asking anyone to hang out for coffee afterwards. I was just making an appearance and then disappearing. So I thought if I make myself speak on immigration, I will be more memorable and I will connect with people more.
Got it. Okay. Wow, that is pretty wild. And so you raised your hand, you were picked, and then how did you feel?
Terrified and over-prepared, even though I could speak on immigration for hours with zero preparation. I still prepared my outline, and I may have done a PowerPoint, and I just wanted it to be as understandable and useful for the audience as possible. And that was the beginning of my speaking on immigration. And this was in 2017, the previous administration. Immigration is definitely a top of mind issue for a lot of people. So there was a lot of interest. Anytime I was in a room of attorneys, I was asked several times, could you tell us about updates in immigration law? What is happening right now? A colleague, Jim Mayock, who's also an immigration attorney in San Francisco, he and I prepared many presentations together, and his top tip for me was, we immigration attorneys could get really, we could really focus on the details, and those don't necessarily mean that much to our audience. So I learned how to focus on the results and the actual impact of the policies, and not just talk about, this decision was appealed or that policy was implemented, which may not sound that intriguing to the audience.
Got it. And Because we're focusing this talk around introverts, where do you, like for you, where does public speaking fall in the list of business development tasks in terms of how difficult it is? And we've talked about, networking and social media as well in previous podcasts.
When right before I stepped on the stage at the group leader summit, my Apple Watch was telling me that my heart rate was very rapid. So and I almost didn't get on the stage, and I'm lucky I was surrounded by friends who encouraged me to, I was this close to canceling because I was so nervous. But once you get through that fear, and once you begin speaking and you get into a flow and you see the audience's eyes fixated on you, and they're thinking about what you're saying, and you can see the nods, and you can see that what you are saying is resonating, that is worth the anguish up until that point.
See, that is one of the things that I cannot relate to, as it turns out. One of the things I'm so grateful to my parents for is they always made sure that I was performing, like even as a kid, and that carried all the way through to high school where I was doing drama in the theater and whatnot. Um, and so I don't really have any stage fright. In fact, I feel very comfortable on stage. So it's one of the few things I can do as an introvert that's actually pretty easy for me, where it's not easy for others. Um, and as you've done these performances, how has your level of anxiety and nervousness, how has that changed over time, or has it?
I still get nervous before I speak. I still need to practice many, many times, and I still prep myself emotionally, and it's ordeal might be exaggeration. It might be a little
Might
too
not
strong,
be.
or maybe not.
Yeah.
But it's the reward is always gratifying and makes it worth it.
And so beyond, I mean, the recognition, the appreciation, the applause, all of that is very important. You spent a lot of time and effort and investment in getting good at public speaking. So beyond the appreciation, the recognition, the applause, how does this fit into your business?
When I speak on immigration, I'm remembered, and I'm thought of for immigration matters because of a talk I gave at the Bar Association 3 or 4 years ago. So it's definitely been a useful investment of my time and effort.
And as an attorney who's looking to get started with public speaking to use it to build their book, what are some of your go-to areas where you've, gotten the most return on your investment of time and effort and energy? Some of the best audiences for you to be speaking at, what are they?
Attorneys and students. I've spoken at law schools, and I must get that from my dad, who's a university professor. That's its own level of rewarding when you address people who are at the beginning of their lives, of their adult lives, and you hopefully plant the seed for some kind of inspirational thing that they'll do with their careers.
That's awesome. So, potential clients and potential referral sources.
Yes.
Fantastic. And how did you choose what topics to speak on?
I rarely ask to speak. I usually get invited. So whatever the topic is, I will, and those tend to be either immigration or how to network as an introvert.
Got it. Okay, that's really awesome. So how to network as an introvert is now one of your talks.
Yeah.
That is great. Um, Boy, what an awesome example of taking something that a lot of people would consider a disadvantage and turning that to your advantage. That's really awesome. Um, and when you are, doing your speaking and trying to think about, okay, here's what I have to say, here's my audience, here's what I want them to take away. But how much prep time do you put in before the talk to make sure that it's done to a level of satisfaction that you feel really good about?
My magic number for rehearsing a talk is 37. That's kind of random, but that's when I get to the 37th time, I'm comfortable that I will deliver it effortlessly. Some of my speaking coaches would disagree and say that that's too many, but for me, that is, I will practice in the car. Instead of listening to music, I will be practicing, whether it's my elevator pitch or it's a 30-minute talk on recent developments in immigration. I practice all the time. I record myself practicing. I go back and listen to it. I may sometimes, if I'm in the car with my husband, he will have it memorized by the time we're done taking a road trip. So it's until I feel that that I'm comfortable recalling one idea after the other, and I'm comfortable enunciating everything, and I'm able to articulate within using a reasonable speed and expressing. It feels like it may sound like over preparation to people, but for me, that's what's felt comfortable, and that's what I like to have going into a talk.
I appreciate you sharing that with us. Thank you. 37 times is a lot. But if that's what, you feel that you need to be at your best, that's exactly why I asked the question, is to give some sense of the preparation that should be involved. And so you've got the prep time, you've got, all the anxiety of delivering the talk, leading up to the talk, and stepping up on stage and delivering it, which when you do that, you're also delivering a ton of energy and then recovering afterwards. So if I'm looking at that in terms of, networking and social media and public speaking, I kind of see that as public speaking requires far and away the most effort, but it also can far and away maybe touch the most people in a profound way if you're talking about, impacting people and helping others. And it also gives you the biggest potential short-term return. And the odds of someone reaching out to you and saying, hey, I want to engage with you in some way, whether it's as a client or a referral source or a strategic partner, whatever it happens to be, people get moved by talks in a way that they don't often get moved by the written word or by a networking type of situation. What's been your experience?
That is absolutely true. I've had people in tears talk to me after my presentations and tell me how touched they felt. And you're right that it does take more effort than everything else. You are the sole center of attention when you're speaking, unlike in a networking meeting. And you don't have the option to go back and edit as you do a written post.
Right.
So it is the most nerve-wracking, but it is the impact is, as I mentioned, at the Group Leader Summit, when I've spoken on networking for introverts, I've had people reach out and say they felt seen, they felt their own hesitations about networking were validated. I think I'm yet to hear from someone who told me they completely 180'd their position on immigration after listening to me, but that will be my next goal. Usually I'm talking to friendly audiences. here in the Bay Area on immigration, but that is a new frontier for me, is to speak on the value of immigration to an audience that may disagree and see what the reactions are.
Very cool. Well, I wish you all the best with that, although please be careful when you're doing that, because it seems like today people's tolerance for differing points of view seems to be getting lower and lower, seems like by the year. So hopefully that'll reverse at some point. But Saja, thank you again for sharing your insights on how to speak as an introvert and the value of doing it. That's been really helpful for, I suspect, the attorney entrepreneurs that are listening, a lot of who are introverts just like you and I.
Thank you, Alay. And I remember reaching out to Roman Zelichenko when I had some haters comment on my LinkedIn posts, and he gave me very good advice that to engage. And I did that. And I, at one point, said, and I actually meant this, that debate is sacred. So even if we disagree on our points of view on immigration, what matters most is our ability to speak on them freely. And I'll keep doing that for as long as I'm practicing. And thank you so much for the opportunity to speak on your podcast.
Love that, Saja. It's been fantastic having you. What a terrific way to end the podcast. And Saja, if people want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
My website is sar.law.
Awesome. Everyone, that's Saja Raoof, business immigration attorney with Raoof Law. Thank you, Saja.
Thank you, Alay.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the Lawyer Business Advantage podcast. One thing that would really help both us and other new potential listeners is for you to rate this show and leave a comment in iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you tune in to listen. And I want to hear from you, so connect with me on LinkedIn and let me know what you think of this episode. And if you are a solo or an owner of a small law firm, and you're looking to earn more money, attract better clients, or reduce your stress, we would love to talk with you to see how we can help. Request your free law firm assessment by visiting lawfirmsuccessgroup.com. Again, that URL is lawfirmsuccessgroup.com. We look forward to talking with you soon. Thank you for listening. My name is Alay Yajnik. Until next time, remember, you can seize freedom. You can embrace happiness. You can build your perfect practice.